parliamentary procedure, not deliberately.
No, no, it's okay. You proceed. We're here to guide you.
And I don't want you to believe that I'm disrespecting you in the chair, but I have respect for you regardless. Sir, this bill has the Returnable Containers Bill. This amendment to the old Act obviously has a history, and in order for us to make provisions for this new amendment, I believe that I should explain the rationale for the decision that's being made today. Sir, the Returnable Containers Act provides for the control of the sale of beverages in the beverage containers, the payment of a deposit on beverage containers, a refund for the return of those containers, and the final disposal of unused and usable containers. Sir, you all know, everyone knows that there is lots of discussions, not only at the parochial level, but at the universal level on matters related to the environment. Both of these two bills touch on the central point of addressing environmental issues. This debate goes back, especially the life of this dispensation, to 2007. But in more recent times, matters related to environment has taken center stage even over classical economic issues and over legal issues. Almost every subject matter, the social, the economic, and the political implications of the environment is very much part and parcel of what we now call the development of a green economy. And in addition to environmental issues, these things have great impact on matters related to health. But they obviously, we find it most offensive at the level of the environment first, before it then finds its way into a major issue for the Ministry of Health. And that's why in recent times you would have heard about the debate emerging based on the manner in which we dispose of waste. From as far back as 2007, the then Act, which emerged, proved to be a very important instrument in the removal of some recyclables from the waste stream as a monetary value. And it was attached to these containers, what we call plastic containers of various size, thereby resulting in the disappearance of certain beverages containers familiar seen across the island. The RCA also led to the growth of an industry, which the majority of bodies are concentrated in mangrove, in that area, where the government facilitate the development of these bodies. Although the expansion of the RCAs has not yet occurred, there have been some removal of plastic, metals, and you know that we move white metal, we move derelict vehicles, paper, cardboard, and glass through the efforts of local waste brokers. And we are facing some challenges at this time as well, because in many cases, in order for these companies and these industries to survive, they have to depend on an external market. Not so much what they can recycle here, but on an external market. It is hoped that by formalizing the amendment to the Act, that there would be an even greater amount of separation of recyclables from the waste stream. If we can reduce that, we will be able to reduce the amount to waste that has to be collected and waste that must be transported, and in the limited trucks which we have. And I will soon have even greater news for you in relation. We have at present 2 more new trucks. And by this time next week, you will have 10 more new trucks. And early in the new year, 10 more new trucks. So we are on our way. So, but we could not expect the
So in total,
impossible.
you're having how many trucks in all in the next 3 months?
22.
22 trucks. All right, 22.
But we also, we will go up to 29.
Okay.
Because we are already in possession of 7 trucks.
Right.
Sir. So we'll go up to 29. But we'll have additional equipment
Right.
to complement the trucks as well. And that would at least ensure the sustainability of the labor force which we have, and probably a few more people might be able to get into the labor force. So we have applied all the methodologies of efficiency, but you will now see the effectiveness of the efficiency.
Right.
Because one can appear to do all that they can, but if you don't have the resources,
Right.
don't care how efficient you appear to be,
Right.
you cannot be effective. So as a result, we should be on our way. So we therefore should be expanding the life of we would also, as a result of this amendment, we would be able to expand the life of the landfill at Mangrove as well. Because the recycling of these returnables, and I'm not even talking about refining in terms of turning the materials into particles, but with the reusing of the containers, and also being compensated for the use of the containers, be a reuse of the containers as well. So you return bottles, and the bottles can be reused again. And in some cases, some of the recycling companies, it depends on where the economies of scale is most favorable to the industries. Those people might be able to use them, and if they find external markets for the recycling purposes, that's where they put the plastic through the machines and so on, and reduce the plastics into small, I call them particles, and probably Minister Simmons might be able to enlighten me of a word which is most appropriate. The action of the players in the recycling industry result in the waste brokers handling as much as 400 tons of material per day that is diverted at source. The Cabinet of a meeting as far back as 2007 agreed to a number of recommendations and aim at developing a viable extended recycling program for Barbados to complement the other components of the Integrated Solid Waste Management Program and significantly contribute to the reduction of waste sent to the landfill. And you know, in the interim periods since 2007, this government came to office in 2008, in 2018, and we had to rescue the country from the state that it was in. The SSA is no different to almost every other institution in this state. On coming to office, we had to deal with issues related to Barbados Water Authority and the sewage on the South Coast. We had to deal with problems in relation to the Ministry of Health. We had to deal with problems in relation to MTW. We had to deal with problems in relation to the Transport Board. So we had multiple problems to deal with at the specific time. But that is when you have a government that is functioning in a very positive way and you break the trajectory of good government and even good governance, then you find yourself in that interim period of the transition trying to correct many wrongs. And this is another effort to correct wrongs in relation to how do we treat to waste. There have been lots of public debate in the treating to waste in relation to how can we take waste, which might be perceived in a negative light, and transform that waste into an energy source. So while people were condemning it, we had to come up with refined modern thoughts with whatever little we had or we have at present available to us on what best we can do with the waste which we have across Barbados. And on more than one occasion, we had to focus our attention on can we use the waste in anywhere to help reduce the cost of energy in relation to our cement plant? Can we use waste in the form of tires to see if we can integrate it into the asphalt in the roadworks of Barbados? So many different ideas. The fusion and the synthesis that derive from the various debates are some of the ideological guidelines that are responsible for the manner in which we will go forward. This bill, sir, or these two bills, and I will speak specifically on the Returnable Container Act. These two bills and the Returnable Containers Act would be, while it might appear to be a simple change of a word within the bill, hoping that we can alter the legislation, sir, it has fundamental gains for the public of Barbados, because there are a number of items on the schedule that would allow persons who return the containers back to the suppliers, the retailer or the supplier, or the wholesaler, and that they'll be rewarded for it. If wholesalers or retailers believe that as a consequence of having to give people compensation for the return of the containers, and they believe that it will cause them to push the price up by 25 cents or 50 cents, the market forces will determine if it is a comprehensive and sensible thing to do in terms of resisting increasing costs in order to ensure that there's no loss if they have to pay back for the containers. But when you return the container, you get back a few cents or a few dollars on the containers. So it's on the basis of that, those progressive thoughts, that we've been able to bring this bill before Parliament today, and we hope that this would have multiple advantages in relation not only to those who return the containers, but in a major reduction. In the last few hours, as I spoke to a number of workers within the sanitation system, they told me that sometimes the waste is bulky that they take up on mornings or at night, but most of the time, the bulk, the appearance can be reduced by 50% easily, because most of the waste inside there that cause it to look in that manner is because we have a lot of plastic containers in it, and then it goes on to the landfill. We are making a determined effort to address issues that are not degradable, are not biodegradable, and you would probably hear a little more about that when we address the issues in relation to the amendment that relate to the plastic bags. And I'm sure that the Honorable Minister will also inform the House and the people of Barbados why, and I believe in these transitions, we must always have some humane ideology that influence decisions. So from time to time, we might make a decision, but all the partners that are very much engaged in the manner in which the supply and the demand for these specific products are affected. The government is a humane government. The government is a government of vision. The minister is a young, wise man, and he will make the required adjustments necessary in order to make sure that all Barbadians, businessmen, workers, working class people, the wealthy, the not so wealthy, all types of people, we make adjustments in order to accommodate based on the feedback that we get from the general public of Barbados. So I want to recommend this amendment to the House, the amendment of the Returnable Containers Act, Chapter 395A, and to make provisions for these containers and a refund for those containers and other reusable and recyclable items. Thank you.
So you want to move that this bill be read a second time? Move that bill be read a second time.
I move that this be read the second time.
Member for St. Michael South.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I too move to support the two bills that are before the House, and of course to support the Honourable Member for St. Michael East in his presentation as well. Sir, we have a plan as a government, and for us, sir, at the end of the day, it's going to be about the sustainable management, one way or the other, of our waste. It's about sustainable waste, innovation, and management. And that would require, sir, that all of us approach, in our various ministries, all of us approach this with the idea, sir, that it has to be sustainable. I came in this honorable place, sir, a few months ago, and we passed a bill, the Control of Disposable Plastics Bill, then Act, sir, that would have banned the retail use, supply, manufacture of plastic bags in Barbados from January 1st, 2020. In fact, sir, that bill, sir, when we debated it, it also served to ban on July 1st certain containers that were made, sir, from a petroleum base. Those were the things that we banned, sir, and I just wish to offer some explanation before I get into the details of what is actually happening here. In that bill, sir, we spoke then to containers, whether it be cups, we spoke to plates, straws, stirrers. Those were the things, sir, that were to be banned originally on April 1st. Having spoken to the importers, we gave an extension of 3 months to allow them to get rid of their old stock after consultation with the importers. But in that act, it would have meant, sir, that plastic bags, because plastic bags were never banned in Barbados, plastic bags were to be banned on January 1st, 2020, petroleum-based plastic bags. But having met, sir, over the last few months with the manufacturers, sir, of plastic bags, the manufacturers, this has nothing to do with importers, these are local manufacturers, local business, sir, who employ Barbadians. We had conversations over the last few months, sir, and we encouraged them to move toward an organic resin that would, when the bag is disposed of, would deteriorate, sir, into an organic state or biodegrade. They said initially that it would be difficult and that perhaps they would not be able to do it. That their factories, sir, were not constructed or built with a view to using this organic resin, and it would perhaps put them out of business. But that over the last few months, sir, they made a lot of effort, sir, to be able to retrofit their factories, to be able to make these plastic bags, sir, from an organic resin. We met with them in November. January 1st was to be the ban day on manufacture. We met with them in November. The three major manufacturers of plastic bags, sir, the same ones who said that they could not do it, have all now brought their factories and their production processes to a stage, sir, where they are able to manufacture plastic bags in Barbados from an organic resin. What that has done, and by the resin I mean the base by which the plastic bag is made, what that has done, sir, is that has put Barbados in a position now where Barbados is ahead of the rest of the other Caribbean countries. In fact, if we stayed the course, we would find ourselves ahead of a lot of the world, because we've now been able to make these plastic bags. So there's 30 bags. They look good. They could carry the weight, sir, and they're not going to contribute, sir, to that which we are trying to solve, which is the pollution, sir, of our ocean space in the long run. Indeed, sir, I would suggest that these manufacturers really supply, and to get it, it takes about 4 months after you order it to get it to Barbados. So we are giving them the opportunity, sir, to get the bags, and in the meantime, allow them to continue to produce. But on March 31, 2020, come the 1st of April 2020, no such bags from a petroleum base will be allowed to be made in Barbados. But sir, this whole conversation, whether it is the returnable containers Act, the amendment that we are making, sir, or whether it is the amendment that we are now making to the Control of Disposable Plastics Act, sir, this whole conversation really is a climate change conversation. It is about Barbados, sir, doing what it has to do, sir, to lead the narrative on climate change, as I believe small island developing states must, as I believe that the Caribbean must, and as I believe that Barbados must. It is about repositioning ourselves, sir. But it is also, in my mind, a conversation about governance, so that we take charge of our own domestic affairs, even within the climate change conversation. Sir, I heard the opposition leader speak earlier about our parliamentary mandate being driven by the international environment, which is not really true. It is about us taking charge of our affairs in an international environment that is changing. The international environment is changing, but we have to take charge of our own domestic affairs, even as we seek to be international players. And so how do we wish to manage our affairs? How does Barbados wish to be perceived on the international stage as a nation? I would not, sir, be truthful to myself if I were to suggest that these challenges are less than formidable. We are dealing with really complex issues, all of us, sir. But what must be our response to this reality, sir, that we face? It is not going to change if we cower, if we bury our heads in the sand. Tomorrow, sir, the world is not going to wake up and say, well, Barbados has buried its beautiful head in the sand, and therefore we would allow them to continue to make petroleum bags. Sir, we cannot say that come September next year, when the hurricanes are raging, sir, and that those of us who live in the Caribbean find ourselves being battered and bruised, that if we determine that we ain't doing anything, that the storm's gonna miss Barbados, all of us, sir, must play our part. And when we go on the international stage, we say to the world, look, we have done nothing to cause this climate change, but we are doing everything in our power to prevent it. And that, sir, is what leadership looks like. And the reality is, sir, Barbados, unfortunately, in the last 10 years, did not have this conversation with the people. So it seems as if the government of the day is coming into office and doing all of these things in a hurry. But these are things that had been happening across the world. So for the last 10 years, it is unfortunate that in the last 10 years, climate change did not become a major part of the Barbadian conversation so that it could become a major part of the Barbadian understanding. And that we now are leading this conversation. Sir, we found ourselves when we were having this conversation behind Antigua, St. Lucia, St. Vincent. I mean, we were behind everybody, Grenada, the Bahamas. Barbados came into the conversation at the back end. And sir, we are doing what we have to do, sir, because we are unquestionably saying that the climate realities and our response to it, sir, is a priority for the government. But of course, sir, I, as minister, and all of us as members of the government, we have to be aware as to what that means for the people. And I mean, my slogan, and it's still the principle by which I live, is that people over politics, always. It is always going to be the case. So what does this mean for us, sir? Sir, all over the world, not only here, all over the world, when you're talking about energy transformation, when you're talking about changes in manufacturing, changes in agriculture, the Honorable Member for St. Philip South will know what I mean, and forestry. So, sir, these industries employ millions of people in their existing traditional state. So every time we talk about making changes to it, you are potentially talking about affecting the lives of millions of people. In Barbados, there are In Barbados, there are hundreds and thousands of people who are involved in agriculture, who are involved in fisheries, sir. And when we talk about these things, sir, we are talking really and truly about affecting their lives. But, sir, at the end of the day, there is now a new idea, sir, that the transition must be a just transition. That when we move from one reality to this new reality, that it must be a just transition. And what is happening across the world is that trade unions are saying as the world changes, as the world evolves, there are consequences for people, there are consequences for labor. The Honorable Member for St. Peter understands there are going to be consequences for labor. So the trade union movement is arguing that there has now to be a just transition. We are saying, sir, that there has to be a just transition. We understand, sir, that even as we build out our new economy, sir, whether it be in the digital space, sir, whether we innovate in agriculture, sir, that there has, whether we do it in the creative economy, there has to be a just transition so that we take care of the people who, sir, will be on the front line of the adjustment. And therefore, sir, anything that we seek to do will only make sense, it will only be sustainable if it is done in a balanced way. So when we came and we said, sir, that the manufacturers of plastic bags have retrofitted all of their factories, are now leading the regional conversation on the manufacture of plastic bags from an organic resin. When I say to you, sir, that there are hundreds of people in Barbados employed in the sector, and that they need a few more months to fine-tweak where they are, so that they are in a position, sir, to lead the way. Give them 3 more months while they will keep all the people employed so they don't have to send home anybody. In the meantime, sir, they get the resin, sir, so that they could make the new and improved plastic bag. Sir, we are doing this in a balanced way, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. And so, therefore, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, this is what a just transformation is, but what, at the end of the day, must be Barbados' climate change policy. Sir, it would be a crying shame, I think, if at the end of all of this, sir, that we do not recognize the need for Barbados to innovate itself out of these challenges, to develop homegrown indigenous responses, sir, to deal with these challenges that we are facing, to not have to rely on the international environment, sir, to give us some kind of recipe to the situation we are in, sir, to create for us a cure that we can develop in-house in Barbados, an indigenous response, sir, that will lead the way in much the same way that these manufacturers are now developing plastic bags, sir, built from an organic resin, sir, that will be, when tested, sir, the pride of our country. Because the rest of the region, sir, has not yet been able to do it as effectively as we have been able to do it. And, sir, at the end of the day, too, we also have to need to have active labor policies, sir, that encourage, when we are making these changes, it encourages, sir, the private sector personnel, even the government, sir, to take care of the people who may find themselves wounded as a result. Sir, I would not be satisfied if, at the end of the day, we've been able to create a new plastic bag, sir, and we've sent home a whole set of people unnecessarily. I would not be satisfied if, sir, in our energy revolution, sir, as we move toward renewable energy, sir, we've increased energy poverty because less people have access to energy, or because less people are able to plug in, sir, and be able to generate revenue from the energy revolution, sir. I would not be satisfied. And therefore, sir, what we are seeking to do is it to be a just government involved in a just transition. But people, sir, you know, no matter what you do, people have to be able to trust their government. So that even if you have the best policies, sir, and people don't trust the government, they will not believe that the policies are just. Even if you attempt, sir, to revolutionize your economic space, sir, and people do not trust the government that is doing it, sir, they will not believe, sir, that it's going to be good ends. If you tax people, sir, and they don't think the taxes are going towards something that will be in their interest, sir, they will not trust the government. We have sought, first of all, to be the kind of government that the people can trust. And when we say we are going to do something, we explain to the people why it is that we are doing it. We engage in the dialogue necessary, sir, to bring people into an understanding. And if the circumstances around us change, we are mature enough to come and say, look, having spoken to the people over the last year, although I must tell you, when we implemented the ban on plastics on April 1st, 2019, on the containers, it was the persons who import the containers who gave me the date. I did not invent the date. When we started this conversation in September, they said, Minister, if you give me 6 months, I can get rid of all of my old stock. So when you're going to do this ban, we support a ban on plastics on April 1st, 2019. But by April 1st, 2019, sir, they had not gotten rid of the stock, so they asked for 3 more months. It was the manufacturers, sir, of the plastic bags who said to me and to the ministry, Minister, give us a year. If you give us a year, we will in that year endeavor to retrofit our factories, to do the necessary so that we could